This is Dr. Kari Jamaluddin. Dr. Kari Jamaluddin has just graduated with a diploma in Malaysia. He plans to further his studies to a higher level in medicine in Singapore. Which is more worthwhile? Commuting from Johor Bahru to Singapore, or renting in Singapore. Which option is more worthwhile for him? Dr. Kari is in the library with his friends, Clarissa, Shenru, Jessie, Julia, and Kerqing. They decided to solve the problem using mathematical modeling.
There are 6 steps to solve this problem, which are identifying and defining the problem, making assumptions and identifying the variables, applying mathematics to solve the problems, verifying and interpreting solution in the context of the problem, refining the mathematical model, and the last step is reporting the findings.
Step 1. Identifying and defining the problem. First, I'm going to talk about the first step of mathematical modeling, which is identifying and defining the problem. Dr. Kari Jamaluddin plans to further his studies to a higher level in medicine in Singapore. However, he is not sure whether commuting from Johor Bahru to Singapore or renting in Singapore is more worthwhile.
Step 2. Making assumptions and identifying the variables. The second step that we need to do is making assumption and identifying the variables. The first assumption for renting in Singapore only is Kari Jamaluddin rents a room in block number 9 with Ringgit Malaysia 1,699.5 and the rental fee does not change. Besides, we need to assume that he goes to school by his own car. We also assume that the distance between the university and block number 9 is 1.9 km and the currency exchange rate of Singapore dollar to Malaysian ringgit is 3.09 to 1.
Next, let's look into the assumptions for commuting from Johor Bahru to Singapore only. We assume that there is no pandemic that disrupts the close link between Johor Bahru and Singapore. He rents a room with 900 ringgit in Sky Suites and studies in Nanyang Technological University. The distance between these two places is 23.1 km. And for the assumptions for both situations, we assume that the passport is not expired, the course duration is 5 years, he studies 5 days a week for 5 years, which is 22 days per month. He uses the same car, the road between Sky Suites, Block 919, and the university is a straight line. The car does not break down and he pumps petrol in Malaysia.
After making assumptions for both situations, we are going to identify the variables. Let S equals to the distance between Sky Suites and Block 919, P1 equals to the amount of rental fee in Johor Bahru per month, P2 equals to the amount of rental fee in Singapore per month, M equals to the petrol consumption rate of the car in km per liter, H equals to the current petrol price in Rm per liter, S equals to the difference in price in Rm of the total rental fee in Singapore as compared to Johor Bahru for 5 years, and lastly, T equals to the difference in the cost of petrol in Rm for driving to the university from Singapore as compared to driving from Johor Bahru for 5 years.
Step 3. Apply mathematics to solve the problems. The third step is applying mathematics to solve the problems. For renting in Singapore, let the rental fee per month in Singapore be 1,699 ringgit by 50 cents. So the rental fee in Singapore for 5 years is 1,699 ringgit by 50 cents times 12 months times 5 years equals to 101,970 ringgit. For commuting from Johor Bahru to Singapore, let the rental fee per month in Johor Bahru be 900 ringgit. The rental fee in Johor Bahru for 5 years is 900 ringgit times 12 months times 5 years equals to 54,000 ringgit. The difference in the amount of rental fee is the rental fee in Singapore for 5 years minus the rental fee in Johor Bahru for 5 years, which is 101,970 ringgit minus 54,000 ringgit. And the answer is 47,970 ringgit.
Regarding the cost of petrol commuting from Johor Bahru to Singapore, let the distance between Sky Suites, which is the house in Johor Bahru, and Block 919, which is the accommodation in Singapore, be 21.2 kilometers. Next, let the petrol consumption rate for a car be approximately 18.52 km per liter. Then, let the current petrol price be 2.05 ringgit per liter. Lastly, let the days of going to the university per month be 22 days. To calculate the petrol needed for the 21.2 km route, we have to divide 21.2 km by 18.52 km per liter. The answer we will get is 1.145 liters. To calculate the cost of petrol for the 42.4 km route, we have to times 1.145 liter with 2.05 ringgit per liters and 2. The answer will be 4 ringgit and 69 cents. To calculate the cost of petrol for 5 years, we have to times 4 ringgit 69 cents with 22 days, 12 months and 5 years. Therefore, he can save 41,779 ringgit and 20 cents by commuting from Johor Bahru to Singapore.
Step 4. Verifying and interpreting solutions in the context of the problem. After that, we need to verify and interpret solutions in the context of the problem. The resulting mathematical model is S equals to P2 minus P1 times M times Y and T equals to S over M times H times 2 times D times M and times Y. If S is greater than T, then it is sensible to commute from Johor Bahru to Singapore. If S is less and equal to T, then Dr. Hairi Jamaluddin should rent in Singapore.
This is an example of using the model. S equals to P2 minus P1 times M times Y, which is 1,699 ringgit 50 cent minus 900 ringgit times 12 months times 5 years. Then we'll get 47,970 ringgit. While T equals to S over M times H times 2 times D times M times Y, which is 22.1 over 18.52 times 2 ringgit 5 cent times 2 times D times M times Y, and it equals to 4 ringgit 69 cent times 22 days times 12 months times 5 years, and the final answer will be 6,119 ringgit 80 cent. Since S is larger than T, he can save more money by commuting from Johor Bahru to Singapore. It means that this solution is more worthwhile. Thus, the mathematical model is able to solve the problem. From the constructed mathematical model, further explorations can be made. First, if all of the variables remain the same, how far can the house rented in Johor Bahru be located so that it is an optimum choice? Let's put it this way. P2 minus P1 times M times Y is larger than S over M times H times 2 times D times M times Y, which is 1,699 ringgit 50 cent minus 900 ringgit times 12 months times 5 years is larger than S over 18.52 times 2.05 times 2 times 22 days times 12 months times 5 years. Then S is lesser than 164.15 km. This means that if the distance between the house in Johor Bahru and the house rented in Singapore is lesser than 164.15 km, then it is sensible to commute from Johor Bahru to Singapore.
The second question is, what is the maximum amount of rental fee in Johor Bahru that will attract a person to rent in Johor Bahru? Using the same formula, 1,999 ringgit and 50 cent minus P1 times 12 months times 5 years is greater than 21.2 over 18.52 times 2.05 times 2 and times 22 days times 12 months times 5 years, and P1 is less than 1,596 ringgit and 32 cents. This means that if the maximum amount of rental fee in Johor Bahru is less than 1,596 ringgit and 32 cents, then it is worth commuting from Johor Bahru to Singapore.
Step 5. Refining the mathematical model. The assumption made regarding the route between Sky Suites Block number 9 and the university is a straight line needs to be revised. For example, if the route between the three places is not a straight line, a new model will be needed. If new assumptions are being made, then the model needs to be revised to reflect this change.
Step 6. Reporting the findings.
Let's talk about the last step of mathematical modeling, which is reporting the findings. The value of Dr. Hairi's time is not considered in this model. Is it worth driving to the university from Johor Bahru to save 41,779 ringgit 20 cents? According to this model, it is worthwhile. Also, the model did not account for any environmental consideration. Is it environmentally responsible to drive 23.1 just to save 41,779 ringgit 20 cents? The model did not account for environmental effort such as efforts to reduce carbon emissions.
And that's the end of the discussion. Now, Dr. Kari had a clearer picture of the situation.
In conclusion, mathematical modeling is a new topic for every one of us, hence it is difficult for me to understand at first, but after completing this project, I feel like I had a better understanding about this topic.
In conclusion, I feel very happy after doing this project. It is because I have more concept about this topic. In my opinion, this topic is difficult to understand, but I have a clearer picture of this topic.
Through this project, I had a better understanding regarding this topic. To me, mathematical modeling is very useful in solving real-life situations.
I felt that this mathematical modeling project is quite challenging because it involves real-life situation. We need to follow the modeling process from beginning to the end to solve the questions.
During this project, I had more understand about mathematical modeling and know the use of it in our daily life. It makes my life feel more easier as it can help me to solve my problem. I also have a good cooperation with my teammates and makes this project done smoothly.